Coming up on Main Street, we'll find out how horses are still playing important roles for the people of Kentucky. Next on Main Street, horsepower.
Funding for Main Street was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by viewers like you who support quality programs such as Main Street that appear only on public television.
Hello and welcome to Main Street. I'm Barbara Deeb. You know, horses have played a vital role to the history of Kentucky and its people. In this age of technology, these beautiful and unique creatures are still an integral part of all we do. On this edition, we're going to bring you some stories about the power of the horse and how it's used in exceptional ways. Our first story takes us to the Kentucky Derby Museum, located at historic Churchill Downs in Louisville. The museum documents and preserves the history of this horse race as no other place can. Opened in 1985, the museum hosts over 200,000 visitors a year and shares the fun of the Kentucky Derby experience through exhibits and a multimedia presentation unlike any other. Next, we'll meet Jonesy Jones, a man whose love of horses has given him a wonderful business that both honors his father and links him to his community. We'll tour historic Bardstown, Kentucky, and meet a little someone who might take the reins of Around the Town Carriage when Jonesy decides to retire. Finally, we'll take a ride with the folks at the Central Kentucky Riding for Hope program, located at the Kentucky Horse Park in Lexington, where the bond between horse and rider makes all the difference in the lives of everyone involved. This facility offers horse-assisted activities and therapies that challenge people with disabilities to achieve their highest potential. We've got horsepower on this edition of Main Street.
When you come into the museum, every year we celebrate that winner of the Kentucky Derby. So when you come into our lobby, we have what we call Capture the Moment. And you're going to see the huge winner's circle shot. There's a video that you can go up to listen to the owner, the trainer, the jockey of what their experience was like. So really, before you even enter into the museum proper, we're trying to get you ingrained and engrossed into the Kentucky Derby.
You first walk through the starting gates in the museum, there's a large video wall of 20 horses, thoroughbreds, leaving a starting gate, and they're coming right at you. And you hear the sound, you hear the hooves of those 20 horses hitting the ground. You see it all the time, people just stop, and as those horses are coming right at you, it's striking, and something inside of you just your heart skips a beat at the elegance and the beauty of these animals. And as you walk through the museum, yes, it's the photography, the designs, it really does appeal to all of your senses as you're walking through.
And on the main floor of the museum, you are going to see everything that is Kentucky Derby, from hats to fashions to trophies, to the races itself and the traditions that surround Derby. And then on our upstairs floor, you're going to see everything there is about the horse, from birth all the way through to retirement.
Our mission statement is actually very, very easy here. It's share the fun of the Kentucky Derby. That's why they started racing horses a long, long time ago, because it's fun.
It truly is not a static museum. Right now, we're installing a brand new hat exhibit. Every year we have a competition after Derby. People can send in their Derby hats, and we have local celebrities become our jury. So we're changing out the Derby hats. We've had multiple changes here at the museum this year, now that California Chrome has won. And that happens every year. We always do a changing exhibit, a temporary exhibit throughout the year. We actually have a couple of them. This year it's toys and games, and we call that exhibit horseplay. And you truly do have the opportunity to play when you go through that exhibit. I think one of the great things about us is if you know the industry, if you know thoroughbred racing, if you are into it, You're going to find information here that you're going to say, didn't know that, this is wonderful. If you're coming with your family and you've watched the Derby on TV and you want to get to know it and you want to have a good fun time with your family, wear that too. You know, you can get on a horse, program that horse to be a front runner, a stalker, or a closer, and you can ride a race on the track at Churchill Downs against your family members or your best friends or someone else who just happens to be in the museum. You can play a trivia game here. So there are so many things that are hands-on, that are tactile, that you can touch and feel, that it makes for a wide experience. And then the centerpiece of all of it, of the whole museum, is the greatest race. And we were the very first 360-degree high-definition film in existence in the world. And that film takes you through Derby Day, and it takes you through the life of a horse, is woven through. And it really does give you that charge. You know, it's not unusual to have people who are from Kentucky or who love the Derby have a tear in their eye when that movie is over with. It's not unusual for it to get applause as it ends. And it really is that experience that brings everything in the museum together and puts it all into that aha moment for people.
The thing that I think people really need to know when they come here to the museum is, you know, just how long they've been running this race. 140 years in a row, they've been running the Derby here at Churchill Downs, and that makes it the longest running continuous sporting event in the United States. And I think that's something that people, when they walk away from here, need to know. And the second thing, especially if you're from Kentucky, is out of those 140 Kentucky Derby winners, 106 of them were born right here in the state of Kentucky.
The vast majority of the people who come to us certainly have not attended the Derby. And we like to think that we kind of give them the next best thing to being there, that they realize what that experience is like. But I think everyone, whether you've watched the Derby on television, whether you've been to Churchill Downs for Derby Day in person, or whether you've attended a Derby party, you have ownership in Derby. And we look at a lot of the exhibits here of It's My Derby, because it is everyone's personal experience.
There's a couple of reasons why it's important that students in Kentucky and even around the country need to know what we're doing. It's because it's a huge part of our culture in our state. It's also a big part of our economy. It's just a big part of who we are as Kentuckians. Before the Derby, when you're singing My Old Kentucky Home, it doesn't matter where you're from. It's going to get you. And we want to share that with our students. And the way we do that is we take the content that the teachers are teaching about math and science and history, economics, whatever they're teaching, and you can tie that in with thoroughbreds. We get about almost 20,000 kids in here a year with school groups. We have free admission for all Kentucky school groups from November until mid-March. And we want them to be able to experience the Kentucky Derby as well.
I've never known a little girl that didn't love a horse. And I can tell you, we have a lot of families who will come through here. It's what the children want to do for their birthday, is come to see the horses and to see the museum. So I think there is something about the grandeur of the horse. There is an elegance to a horse that is, and something majestic that is there. And when they call it Sport of Kings, I think that is one of the reasons why. And I think the Derby itself brings all of horse racing. I mean, it is the finest of all of horse racing. I think that I would tell people that we truly are the next best thing to being at the Kentucky Derby. The Kentucky Derby is not just Louisville, it's not just Kentucky. It is one of the most familiar and enduring events in the United States of America. It is one of those events that this country is known for around the world. And it is one of those things that should be on everyone's bucket list in order to do. It's one of those special times every year that only comes around once. You know, we always joke around here and say we're the only museum that's built on 2 minutes of time. So everything that we're about is everything, in all honesty, that this country is about.
Well, I enjoy all of it, to be honest with you. And meeting the people is just super great, you know. But I've fooled with horses all my life. I love horses, and I just love dealing with them, being around them. When I was a kid growing up, my dad was a farmer, blacksmith, and I lost my dad when I was 18 years old. And we probably never was over 15 or 20 feet apart all them years, you know. But it's just kind of keeping the dream alive. He was a special horse person. I was born and raised about 17 miles out of Bardstown. Never did come around Bardstown much, to be honest with you, until 29 years ago. But this town has a lot to offer, a lot of friendly people, and a lot of great business people here in town. And it's just a wonderful place to live, and definitely a wonderful place to be able to work. Getting the horses shod, cleaning the stalls, taking care of the horses and all that, that's the hard work. That's the hard part. The rest of it's a snap. This here is like a vacation, 365 days a year. Ain't many people can say that. All of our carriages are used for special occasions, just about all of them. But we got 2 Cinderellas. Be honest with you, I do more Cinderella kids than I do weddings. But they're used for both weddings and special occasions. Got a little Victorian, it only seats 2 people, and that's pretty special for a wedding. And it's also special for anniversary or this type thing, you know. And of course we've got a horse-drawn limousine that seats 14 people. And we've got the horse-drawn trolley that seats 22. And then our regular carriages usually seats about 6 to 8. We've got a couple of covered wagons, and had to have them for the kids, you know. So I just tried to have something for every occasion. I love all of it, to be honest with you. But what I love the most is when I get a group on there where I can get on there and tell them about Bardstown. Well, of course, this is a historical town, and naturally most people are interested in the history of Bardstown. And that's what we do. We give them a narrated tour of historical Bardstown. The way my tour takes off is, this is Main Street of Bardstown. All these old buildings on Main Street was built in the 1800s, except a few of them. Courthouse sits right in the middle of the street, built in 1892. Got the old-time soda fountain in the drugstore, corner drugstore. And then around on the left, we got an old yellow home there that was built in 1780. And then on our right, we've got a little white brick there was the Cisco home. He was a buggy and carriage builder in the early 1900s. And on the right, there's a big round building there that was a smokehouse where they smoked their meat in the early 1900s. And then we've got, next would be the old Pioneer Cemetery, and that's where John Fitch was originally buried. After they declared him steamboat inventor, they moved his remains up on the court square. The next home was Dr. Force's old home built back in the early 1800s. And the one sits right straight in front of us is the Dr. Harry Spaulding's home. It was called the Edgewood home, built in 1815 by a criminal lawyer, Ben Hardin. And on our right, on the corner here, is a home called the McLean House. Served as a post office back in the early 1800s and a hospital during the Civil War. And then on our left there, it's Cobber Tavern, the oldest stagecoach stop west of the Allegheny Mountains. And we've got the old county jail, oldest county jail in the state. They closed it down 27 years ago and opened up for bed and breakfast. Didn't have to change much already, bread and breakfast. Pay to get in now instead of get out. And on our left, big home here is called the Chatelain home, built in 1820. Small stone out front's a mounting stone for the horseback riders, and the large one's a mounting stone for the carriage riders in the 1800s. And the yellow home with the red shutters there was the old gunsmith shop. It's where the Kentucky long rifle was built. This is the most unique way of seeing the town and getting the history of Bardstown. In other words, they wouldn't get. So I'll be here as long as I can go. Now the only plans I have is each year when I start, first of the year, I aim to break my last year's record. And I've done that for 29 years. little granddaughter's following in my footsteps. She started when she was 4. She drove in the Pegasus Parade in Louisville when she was 4 years old, all the VIP. She went back when she was 5 and did it again. She went back this year at 6 and did it again. And she's got her heart set on next year. I have people come here and ride with me. I had a gentleman come in here one day and took a ride with me. It was a $50 ride. And when he got back, he went out to his vehicle and he brought me in a John Wayne silver dollar belt buckle. And his wife said to me, said, "Jonesy, you put a pretty big impression on my husband." He's a John Wayne fan too. I'm a John Wayne fan, if you notice my office in there. Anyway, she said, "I'm not going to tell you what that buckle's worth, Jonesy, but said, I'm going to tell you that it's over $500. So when you can give people rides and they appreciate it that much, that means more to me than anything else. Not the money, but the idea, the thought. That silver buckle will always stand out. Nothing will top that. That's John Wayne.
It is always a wondrous thing to watch as the children come in, and sometimes you can see such a difference because the child may start out not even being able to sit up on the horse. And then, you know, the next thing you know, you see them walking around, running to go get on their horse. And, you know, when they don't achieve those developmental milestones when they're really young, it's wonderful to have something that can help boost them along. It is so much more than pony rides for disabled children. It really is a true hippotherapy. You know, it really is a very true therapeutic experience, and you can see in a lot of cases progression. And in many cases for both therapeutic riding and hippotherapy, it's just the maintenance sometimes that you need to keep your muscles strong enough to not lose ground as well.
This program has meant so much to us as a family because we have horses at home, and my husband and I used to ride, and when Clay was born, all of that came to a stop because of his care and the needs that he has. So this has kind of allowed us to come to the horse park and be around horses and have a feeling for it, but it's all about him now, and watching his progression and the joy on his face when we walk in and he knows he's here, and just seeing how happy he is, how it helps him. And it's not your traditional physical therapy, which in the past we've had so much of. It's different, but so enjoyable to him and us as a family. The horses here, I can see the connection with the children. When my son gets off, he will take his nose down and want to touch Clay, and Clay will do the same. He will touch them, but there's just, they know, these children, it's like they know they need them, and they're helping them.
Well, before they ever come out here, we do evaluations at Cardinal Hill. So as a physical therapist, I'm looking at, depending on the client, how their balance is, what is their strength like, what's their range of motion. We look and see how they move, evaluate them, and then we look at the strength areas and the areas that we need to address and create goals with the client or the client's family. And we address those goals out here, just like we would at the hospital. It's just a different environment. And hippotherapy is a different treatment strategy that we use. So once they get out here, we have already actually chosen the horse and the equipment that goes on the horse, and we choose the horse that's most suitable for the client and the equipment that's most suitable for the client. So we have to match those things up. And then once they're on the horse, well, we figure out how to get them on the horse, of course, and that's still part of the therapy. So we have therapy off and on the horse while they're out here, and part of that therapy is how do we go on the horse. For some kids, it's very easy. They're like, they see the horse, everybody's really motivated to get on the horse. Some of them are like, let me up there. You know, they don't know exactly how, but they know they're going to get on. And so their motor planning is a little bit of an issue, so we help them through that process. Some of them, they know exactly how to get on. And then once they get on, then a lot of times we're working on core stability, strength. That's kind of a common theme throughout our clients. So we look at those things, and then also how to get them off. And then how does that movement of the horse, which is our treatment, at the time, how does that movement carry through to then everyday function? So once they get off the horse, are they walking better? Are they getting up and down from the floor better? Are they squatting better to pick up something off the floor, things like that?
We all recognize that in this program, horses are, they are a member of a team. They are just not their own entity. They are as important as the path instructors, as important as the therapist, and they are the magic, they are the component of the magic that makes this program happen. Well, we are in our 3rd year of this program, which we have named the Stables. And Stables is for middle school and high school students who have found for one reason or another that they're not a good match for their public high school, their normal public high school. So what we've started out here is just ways to incorporate and find their strengths and try to teach them based on the things that we have in our environment at this facility, in conjunction with our horses and with what natural talents the children have. The teachers at the stables and the staff at the carriage kind of work together with the students to find the best avenue to help with their hands-on, more hands-on oriented, activity-based learning instruction than just maybe the traditional classroom lecture kind of series. It gives life to a lot of things, and that's the piece that the horse adds to academics, but there's also that very non-judgmental but in the moment reaction that horses bring. So when you come into this, and if you are an individual that comes into this very aggressively and somewhat boldly and jerks your horse around, eventually your horse is not going to listen to you. And you will then have to figure out, what is it that I'm doing? Or this horse is going to leave me totally frustrated because I'm accomplishing nothing. And the horse won't listen. So what is it, what am I doing that isn't right? And the horse will pretty much tell you and react to you. So it's just a different way of letting people know what's, your horse is backing up, putting its ears back. What are you doing in your personality that's causing that horse to do that? And so sometimes it makes you take a look at yourself. Horses, sometimes are just ideal, I want to say person because they're like a person, but the ideal person to sometimes just talk to, because they are very non-judgmental, and they seem to be very intuitive about when do they need to put their head out and kind of rub you, and when do they need to respond to where you're scratching them and kind of react to your overtures as well.
You get as much learning as you would get out of any high school, but you're more into what you're learning instead of just writing down a note and learning it. You want to learn it. Therapy, like therapeutic, because I had a little bit of a anger thing, but when I came here, the horses are just really calm. They teach you how to calm down and get to become happier in life. They're just calmer. So it's therapeutic for me.
It is the power of the horse. At this program, we've talked a lot about the physical disabilities and how that helps your core strength and maintaining your muscles. But really, there are all the mental health programs that go on out here that horses bring such a power to, and really help people find themselves.
Well, we've come to the end of our journey, but we hope you've enjoyed these stories of the power of the horse and its effect even today on the people and history of Kentucky. Our first story took us to the Kentucky Derby Museum in Louisville, Kentucky, which preserves and shares the excitement of this iconic horse race with over 200,000 visitors a year. Then we visited with Jonesy Jones of Around the Town Carriage rides in Bardstown, where we took a tour of the city and found out how Jonesy's combined his love of his father and horses to create this one-of-a-kind business. Finally, we shared the story of the Central Kentucky Riding for Hope program in Lexington, where horses and riders come together for more than a simple ride around the paddock. We'd like to thank the owners of Reed's Livery and Stables in Alvaton, Kentucky, Diane and Rex Reed, for letting us use this beautiful place. And our producers would love to hear from you. We welcome any questions, comments, or story ideas. Check out the address on your screen. And of course, you can find archived editions of the shows there as well. Until next time, I'm Barbara Deeb. And remember, we're just around the corner on Main Street.